All right. So yeah, I believe some of you can hear me. I want to know if you can hear me. We just have I think we need to share this on the Discord server. So just give me a minute and I will do that, please. Yeah, so good morning, Adebola. For those of you that are currently watching, just give me 1 to 2 minutes and we'll kick off, please. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can kick off right now. Yeah, so if you were here yesterday, you should have seen that we covered a couple of things from generating dummy data using Mokaro. We're able to also use formulas to set the status and also perform the operation or calculation on tax by referencing a different sheets where we collected our tax rates and we referenced the reference sheet we have right here and the specific column, which is B7, right? So that was where we collected the tax rate from. At the end of the day, we also set the companies, for the workers or the employees using the reference sheet as well, A2. We pointed at cell A2 on the reference sheet. So this is basically how you reference a sheet, and of course you can reference multiple sheets this way. I also explained how you can create simple charts, right? We worked with a column chart. We also embedded this chart in a web page, and so that was where we collected the tax rate from. Yeah, sorry, and I hope you can hear me. So we referenced this chart in such a way that once we make any updates, it would automatically change on the web page, and though it might take some time, right? So we tested this together yesterday in the previous session, and yeah, we also saw how to publish this chart in multiple ways. I told you can download this chart as a PNG image, as a PDF image, or even as an SVG image. So if we go ahead and try that, we just downloaded this chart as a PDF, right? So you can explore that option. You can definitely download your charts and share with your friends and colleagues. You can delete the chart if you want to. You can even set up sort of like a dashboard, right? So we have like a dashboard showing different items or different types of charts. You can set up different charts. You can try to measure different metrics on your data set, which is your workbook, of course, and you can share that across with friends. All right, so let's go back to our data sets, and basically we're going to be working with some formulas today, and today would mark the last day of this training, right? So we're going to be working with some formulas. I would also give you a reference to some formulas that you can definitely, just play around with, okay? So the first formula we're going to try today is basically sum, right? So this is actually a simple formula. We're going to build, we're going to try multiple formulas as we progress with the session. So we're going to try sum, average. We're going to use count. We're going to be using count if. We're going to be using subtotal. We've definitely used some of this previously, but we're just going to cover them again, right? So let's assume we're trying to calculate the sum, right? So we're trying to calculate the sum. Let's just say we're trying to calculate the sum of the taxes. Basically, your formula is going to be equals sum, just like this. So you see we have a suggestion coming from Google Sheet, and we're simply going to select this. So you see we have this formula right here. And before I forget, at the end of the session, I'm also going to show you how to use Microsoft Excel on your browser. For those of you that have experience using Excel and probably want to continue using Excel, it's quite easy and straightforward. I think we had done that in the first session, right? But I will do that again. Okay, so this is very simple. I'm just simply going to duplicate this, copy and paste, and this is of course going to reference the next column, which is F2 to F12, to give us the total or the sum of the values on the salary column, right? And the next thing we're going to do here is simply to calculate the average, right? So when calculating for average, and I hope average will work with the symbol, but let's give it a try. Average. Let's see, average. All right, so I think that works. Okay, so we're also able to calculate for the average using the formula average, right? And we can actually, you must not select a range all the time. So let's assume you have 5, 6, 7. You can simply use some. This is E15. Okay, no, that is 16. So you can actually use the comma to select some specific points, right? So we can have E17, we can have E18. So you can select this manually if you want to. But when working with range, it's more efficient if you actually have those items laid out on a column or row, right? So it's easier for you, and it's sort of faster. Okay, so we have been able to check for working with sum and average. The next option will be to count, right? So of course, count would give you the total number of items. Basically, we also have something called count if. I think we tried using the count if, but for some weird reasons, it didn't work because of the currency. We're going to try again, to see if it works this time around. So let's use count if, or let's use count first of all. Basically, we're counting for a total number here, and we are expecting to see, starting from E2. Okay, okay. I think that is automatically laid out for me. So we have 10 set of data, as expected. You're going to get the same value here. And we have a bunch of other, count functions. And remember that you can always over on the function, to explain, like the functionality, right? And if that doesn't work, you can definitely, check out the functionality from here, and you can hover on it when you have something like this. So let's see if, yeah, so when I click on the question mark, it gives me a detail on, the functionality of that, yeah, of that function. So yeah, I think the same thing here. So let's see if, okay, good. So you see we have that description right here. All right. So this is just, some basic formulas, right? So let's continue. All right, so let's continue. So basically, you can also choose to, check probably for a function called modulus, right? And the way modulus work, I'm going to show you with an example. We have like, let's assume we have the value 10, right? So you can choose to check from modulus. Modulus will basically give you the remainder, right? So if we have like MOD, and this is probably E18, if I'm not mistaken, okay? So comma 2, we're going to divide this item by 2, and basically we're going to pick the remainder, which is 0, right? If we try dividing this by 3, we get a remainder of 1. So modulus is basically a function used to check for remainder, okay? Let's assume you want to check for the power of an item, which is like saying you are trying to raise a value by 2 or by 3. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So we've tested modulus. At the end of this session, I'll share this file with you. So modulus, let's just say we have 10. Okay, let's use that value just to have that item sit here. So we have that should be E15, right? So E15, modulo 2, probably 3. Okay, so if we're checking for power, we're trying to raise something, a specific value to the power of another item. So we can choose to do that with this specific cell, which is E15. So let's do that again. So we're going to say power E15 raised to power 2, and we have the value right there. So we're still testing out some basic formulas. Okay, let's move down to ceiling. Basically, ceiling is a function that rounds a number to the nearest to the nearest multiple of its significance. So let's assume you have a number. You have a number like this. Let's move this right here. Move this away right here as well. So let's say you have a ceiling just like this, ceiling. Okay. So let's assume we're trying to check for the ceiling number of, let's say 23.345. What we have to do is use the formula. Yeah, so basically the formula ceiling. Okay. And then we're going to reference the number, which is this 23.34, which is basically E18. So let's do E18. Yeah, so I think it's, we're trying to, let's do 2. So when we use 2, we're basically rounding it, to just 2 units, which is going to give us 24, right? Let's see what we get when we do 3. So basically, we're still, getting the same value because it's going to round this off to the, nearest whole number, right? So that is what I mean by the nearest order of significance. So you can choose not to, use the, the extra value that you put in there, probably because you don't have. So if maybe we have an item like it's 9.45, maybe let's see, it's 9.45. 55. So you see, this is going to round this up to 100, right? What if I do 3 or 4? So this is basically giving us the same value, which means, of course, you can check how this works. I personally don't think rounding it off with the other option. Okay, yeah, so that is referred to as a factor, and that is the word I was trying to get. Okay, so we can just round this off to 100, and that works perfectly. We can also check out the opposite of that, which is the floor, right? So let's do that. The floor function, and basically the floor function would round this off to the nearest to the floor, basically, like to let me show you what that is. So basically we have 99.3 and we try equals floor, so that is E19, I guess. All right, so basically you see that is giving us 99. So you see that's giving us 99, and it's not rounding it up to the to like 100. Basically it's just taking off the it's stripping it off the decimal unit, and it's taking the complete whole number to the nearest floor, right, without having to kind of like round this off by selecting by checking the value it's going to get to. Instead it's checking the value that's the group from, right, which is 99. Okay, so we have a bunch of other functions, such as concatenate, such as length. Let's go ahead and try out length. So length is basically going to give you the length of an item. So let's assume I have my name in here. Let's say I have Marvelous. The length is basically going to give us, so we're going to say equals LEN. It doesn't matter if you're using a small case or capital, by the way. So we're simply going to point at P20, correct? Okay, so this is going to give us the length of the text you have in here. Okay, so that's basically what we have. The length of Marvelous is giving us 9. And this is also a simple function. We have other functions such as replace, such as substitute. I'm just selecting a bunch of functions that we can work with for now. And of course, remember, the tool has a bunch of functions. We have upper, we have lower. So just in case you're trying to change all the items you have, maybe like you want to change the names, for example, we want to change all the names here to the uppercase. We can simply just do upper, right? And then we select maybe A1, right? This is going to switch the entire name to uppercase, right? So you see it has switched every single item to upper cases, and we have the value here. Okay, so this is what I think I copied it wrong. I definitely, yeah, I should start from A2 and then stretch this down here. Okay, yeah, so basically this is how you use the upper function, right? That's how to basically use the upper function. So we can also go ahead and do that here, uppercase. So we can say equals upper, and we have E19, right, or E20. Let's see where that is. Okay. All right, so we referenced this item and it gave us this item. Let's go ahead and take this off for now. Let's save this. All right, so I'm currently saving the file using Command S, but of course, this is going to be saved automatically, even if you don't do that. Yeah, so what if you want to get like the current time or the current date? This is a function that you might want to use most times, right? So we can have we have a now function which basically gives you the current date and time, right? So of course you can always customize this function if you want to, but I think yeah, so you can basically customize by changing this field to maybe a date. Dates, yeah, so you see this is going to be specific and it's going to strip you off the time, right? You can also choose to customize this by selecting the time, and it gives you the time and takes off the dates, or you can also format this to give you the date and time, right? So date time, so you have date and time, or you can change this to even give you duration if you have some sort of data that can converted into a duration. Okay, so this is giving you date and time. If you want to get just the specific dates, of course working with your system date, so you can use the today function, which is just simply by saying today, and now you have today's dates, right? Okay, and yeah, so you can also do that using the day function. What you do is you then insert the specific item you're looking for. For example, you can actually check for the day, you can check for the month. So let me show you what I mean. So basically you can use a formula to check for let's say the day, and you can have a formula embedded in there. So this is giving us the day today, which is first, of course, right? So you can have like months, okay? You can also embed today in there. So you see you have the month right here, and yeah. Also, you can check, for the day, for the year as well. So you have year, and then you see we have today. So we put in today as a sub function, and we have 2020. Okay. So this is just an example of how you would use multiple functions embedded together. And I've tried to also explain this in the past. So if we use equals sum, and we have a different sum, 5, 5, and then we are trying to add the comma here, and we're trying to reference a specific number, probably like a number around the E14. Come on, let's make it 18. Okay, so you are able to actually add a bunch of items if you want to, right? You can go ahead and even perform probably like an average in here, right? You can definitely do that. I mean, that is definitely possible. So we can even have multiple items. So you have the sum of the sum, with an average inside that, sub sum, right? So you can keep extending the value you get here, right? You can write a formula, but make sure you're writing formulas that you can reason with. I mean, you can reason about, because you don't want to be confused at some point. You can actually embed a lot of sub functions to give you whatever it is you're trying to compute for, right? So we're going to explore some of those examples shortly. So of course you can check for time, you can check for hour, minute, and second, right? Yeah, so you can check for hour, minute, and second. So let's try something. Let's see if we choose to work with time. So of course we can check for the time. If you have any questions, please go ahead and drop it in the chat. Let's do equals time. And you can actually customize this time, because by default this is giving us NA, as you can see. So for the time, it's asking us to provide the hour, minute, and the second. So let's work with the formula. Let's work with the sample we have here. Let's see what that is going to give us. So this is giving us 11:49 a.m. right? Which is the hour, the minute, and the second. What if we choose to take up the second? That doesn't work. So it has to be, yeah, you have to put in the parameters correctly. Okay. So of course you can check for hour, you can check for minutes, just the same way we worked with the dates. And yeah, so we have a bunch of other functions. We have a function such as probably let's assume you're trying to look for items, right? Vertically, you're trying to look for items on with a specific range. I would show you how to do that shortly. But I think I want to show you how to work with the if statement again. Yesterday, I think someone pointed out that he did not really understand that before we ended the stream. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's assume you have random numbers here. You have 50, you have 20, you have 10. We can use if statements to check, or the if function basically, to check if a specific item, such as this item, this is B18, right? So we can say is B18 greater than maybe 50, right? Is it greater than 50? And if yes, say value is greater, right? And if it's not, say value is lower or lesser, right? Of course, you can have a full string here, so you can say lesser than 50. We're not really checking that. So this is telling us value is lesser because, of course, it's lesser than 50. And if we go ahead and probably put in 100, it gives us a value is greater, right? We have 200. Definitely, you're going to get value is greater because, of course, those items are greater. If you have 10, definitely value is lesser. So the conditional function there, it's I think it's actually a good way to test for cases, right? So you can test for multiple cases if you want to, and yeah, so I think that is a very good way to test for multiple cases. Of course, we have a different function. I tried using that yesterday. If you're checking, if you're working with count if, right? So basically, you use count if to count the total number of cells with the range that meets the condition within your if. So let's assume we're trying to count these items, right? We're simply going to use a formula now. We're going to say count if. So we're going to work with this range. Select from here down here, and then you can put in the condition, right? So you can put in the condition, and our condition was simply going to count if the item is let's assume we have 10, right? The number 10, right? So if we're counting, for the number 10, we're then going to have let's see what we have here. So basically, you see it's giving us 2. So it's actually counting if the value here is 2. So if we have probably another number which is 10, it changes to 3. So you see it's highly reactive. It changes to 3, and the item will also have here changed to 3. So if we go back to 100, that changes automatically as well, right? So basically, that is what we are doing with count if. We also have sum if, right? You can actually sum a bunch of items if a specific if you have a specific condition met, right? So if the condition is met, then it would count that specific or sum that specific item depending on the function you're trying to use here, right? So what we're going to try this time around is the Vlookup function. The Vlookup function is more complex, and in most cases, you are definitely going to use the Vlookup function. I mean, I had really tough time, understanding this function in my early days, right? It's a very helpful function because then you can use the function to search, to search for an item, right? So you can actually use the function to search for an item. So yeah, so this is what we're going to do right now. We are simply going to search for an item on a vertical line, right? So we're going to use VLOOKUP to search for an item. So let us do that. Okay, so we're going to be using the VLOOKUP function here. So basically, we're going to check for some items around here, and I'm going to show you how that would work. So if I say VLOOKUP, you see we have a simple description of how that works. So you should have a search key, right? The search key is basically the first thing you're seeing here, right? So you should have a search key, and yeah. So when you have a search key, the next thing you would want to put in there is the range, and then the index, and of course you can choose to check or probably work with the sorting if you want to. I'm not going to work with the sorting here. So, but there are descriptions on how this function would work, right? So, the vertical lookup searches down the first column of a range for a key, right? And returns the value of a specified cell in the row found. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. All right, so let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. So I'm simply going to say let's put in a search key. I'm going to say yeah. So let's do it this way. We're basically trying to search for okay. So let's do H7. Correct. We have a value there, by the way, H7. Okay. Okay, so we're trying to cover a very large range. Let's see. I'm simply going to pick an item right here. Giving me the index I want to use. For the is sorted, I'm going to use false. Just want it to look like that. So this is giving me NA because definitely my range is practically wrong. Why am I using? Okay. So I'm having a problem with the reference because I'm trying to reference. Let's see. So evaluate to an out of bound range. Yeah, I actually expected that. Okay. actually expected that. I'm going to use a different example to give you this because, you know, the value. So let me give you, let me use a different example to make this even more clear, right? So what I'm going to do this time around is, so what I'm going to do this time around is to give you an example from here. So I'm going to assume we have like an ID, and I would also share the material I'm using for this example. I got that material from the web. I'll share that across to you. So we have like a company, and we have like a product. So let's say we have like, you know, 1, 2, 3. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. And then we have the companies. I'm simply going to put random companies here: Google, Apple, Facebook, right? So Facebook. Let's also just, you know, pick this randomly. Control V, not here. Control V, right here. Okay. So for the product, we're simply going to put in the Chrome, iPad, Instagram. Right. Let's say iPhone, and let's say we have. Okay. So these are some products, and these are the companies with this specific ID. Let us fix the item here by simply dragging this right here, make this bold. So now we have this item as our heading. Okay. So what I'm going to do, you know, from here simply is to you know, check for a specific item given a specific ID. So we're going to use the ID. The ID first off is going to be you know, the range that you know, we'll be using, right? So we're going to be using that ID. We're going to be using the ID as a way to look for that value, right? So basically what it's going to look like, it's, you know, we're going to look for a specific company, you know, with name. We're going to look for the specific company name with the company ID of, you know, a specific ID we're going to pick from here. So these are the company IDs, right? So we're going to look for a company name with the ID. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to say equals Vlookup. And in here, I'm going to select first. We're going to start by selecting the, you know, trying to get the ID, right? So let's go ahead and do it this way. So for the search key, I'm going to be using. Let's see, what should I use here? Okay, so let's use. All right, I hope you can hear me. So let's. I don't know. Yeah, I sort of you know, lost a connection at some point. So let's be sure that you can. Okay, fine. So I said for the VLOOKUP this time around, let's work with this. Let's try to work with this example I have here. So I'm simply going to say we'll use like let's see, we'll use let's work with A2, you know, just to see what the search key is going to be here. So let's work with A2. I'm going to give a range. I'm going to give a range of A2 again here. So we're going to work with this range down to let's see what that range is going to look like. Okay, so let's select the whole item, right? So let's select the whole item and see what we get. You know, search for the entire. We're going to search the entire table basically. So we're going to work with 2 being the set of items we're going to be looking for ID name, right? So we're going to be pointing at the name with this, and finally we're going to have false in here. Yeah, so this is going to be giving us Google, as you can see, because you know that we're basically trying to get the item. Remember, we pointed at A2, right? So when you point at A2, it's going to basically reference with the the ID at this point, and we search for that item given us Google. So of course we can extend this, and if you are working with maybe some sort of range, you can extend this. So if I paste this in here, you can extend this to probably you want to change, so we're basically pointing with index right now. This doesn't make sense for you to just extend this, of course. We're basically pointing with the index. I think what I would also, probably love to do here is if I change the key, the key would check by changing the key, it's going to change like, the search item. So if we change the key, since we're basically trying to point at, use the index. If we use, let's work with 5, for example. So if I change this to 5, so you see 5 is giving us Facebook, right? So we are getting the specific index, and the index we're actually getting here is, the company, right? So this is referred to as, the first item. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. If I change this to 3, then this is going to give us the product, right? Instead of the ID, right? Instead of the company, sorry. So basically, the item you're seeing here is referring to the exact, the column, right? In this case. So if we have 1, it means we're going to, use this particular item, which is the search key, and the search key being this item, right? So if I use this item, we're basically going to use this, in this table to search for the item, to get the value at this specific index. Right now, we're using 1, which is going to give us back the same item. So this is going to give us 5, of course, right? It's going to give us 5. If I change this to 2, it's going to search on the company column, and then this is going to give us Facebook, right? Okay, so the 5th item, which is this, giving us Facebook, okay? And also, if I choose to check for a 3, then this is going to give us WhatsApp, right? So this is how you actually search for items. And of course, I think if you also, choose to, let's assume we don't have the ID, you can definitely then decide to, use the column or use the product, as the item you're looking out for, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make here. So of course, you can use that. And I was wondering if we can use Facebook. No, can we? Definitely not. Okay. Didn't find value with Facebook. Maybe because yeah. I think what if I try to find the value using the position, like maybe C6 or something? Does that work? Nope, that doesn't work at all. Okay. Right. So I think what if I try, let's say A5? Okay, so I think the Vlookup item is definitely working with the first item I have here for some reasons. I think I would also try to play around. Let's test to see what we have here. If we can. No, reference doesn't work. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to change this to 2, change this to A, to cover the entire range. Yeah, I think what I would also do is I would definitely like to check the the complete meaning of these items one after the other again. So the search key is the value to search for example, for the 2 cards, okay, 124. All right, and the range to consider for the search. The first column in the search in the range is searched for the key specifically, okay, the search key. And of course, you have the index, you have the sorted, which is optional. Well, I definitely think, we can also explore another option. We have another option, which is the H-lookup. I think the H-lookup would also have, so basically this is, vertical lookup, right? And this is a formula, for performing search. Remember, using the vertical, the vertical section here. So we're basically searching, on a vertical range, basically, right? So we can also choose to try out the H-lookup. I would share this file with you, and I would also share the resource with you. You have these samples on the resource that was shared with you yesterday. So of course, you can definitely check out that material, and yeah, you would definitely find even more functions, or more functions that would help your workflow. So yeah, so basically we've explored a bunch of functions in here. The idea was to have this session, short, and also give you more materials that you can, read up and study with. I think in most cases you're going to find yourself using a bunch of conditional functions in in a real scenario. You would also find yourself using the Vlookup function. I definitely use it a lot. And you're going to find yourself embedding functions a lot, right? Because sometimes, a single function would not give you the results, right? So you're going to be embedding functions a lot. Someone was asking me the other day if you could, kind of like, we call it concatenation, right? Kind of like combine fields together. And yeah, I told him, of course, why not? You can actually do something like this. Let's say the company with the ID, and then you can reference that ID, with a plus. You can reference that ID, so you can say ID. Let's use A1, right? So you can reference, A2. Then you can add a different plus, has the name. Then you can do another item here. So I would love to add some spaces anyways within that string. But what we're doing basically right now is concatenation. So we can say B2, right? So B2, I would love to add, that is not B2, this is B2. Okay, so I would love to add some spaces in here, and we can say and, plus, and own the products. So with a different space in here, we can add this time around C2, right? So what you might want to do is to add some spaces here as well, just to ensure that you have the proper spacing. Okay, so now we have a problem with the formula. And yeah, in order to check for where the problem is coming from, I think, let's see where the problem is coming from. So I'm going to simply check. So it says function add parameter one space value, but the company ID is text. Okay, so maybe, just maybe I might have to convert this value again. Yeah, so I'm going to check out, just to be very sure, how we do this. So let's see. Okay, so I think using plus is wrong, right? I think using plus is definitely wrong. If I remember very well, it should be there should be a symbol for that. I think, I'm not sure, but I'm going to try this now. So let's see if that will work. Okay, so I'm simply going to change this, take off these items, not this item, put this item, but this item. So take off the plus and change that to and. If that would fix this, also right here. Okay. Okay, so that works very well. Control X, I'm going to paste that here, and then I can simply expand this, so this would automatically make those changes, right? So the company with ID1 has the name Google, and own the product Chrome, and we have that replicated. The company with ID2 has the name Apple and own the product iPad. So you can do a bunch of concatenation. Just remember that this is how it is done, right? And yeah, so basically what we're doing here is VLOOKUP and concatenation. Let's rename this file VLOOKUP. Okay. So always remember, of course, you can share. Let's just expand this down here, take this off. So always remember that you can share, you can share your file, you can have people collaborate with you. Basically, I can share this file, you can comment on some, part of this file. I can ask the person that I'm currently collaborating with to make some changes or to, add some, to add some details, right? So you can click on add comment and, add a comment to that specific change. Please optimize the function used here. So, I can drop this comment and have someone, work on this comment with me. Of course, like you take a look at the comment and make some changes. The comment is actually meant to point at a specific range or cell, right? So what you can do is, of course, share this with others and have them work on this. So Yeah, sorry, I think at some point my network went off his. So you're saying you can't hear me. All right. So I hope you're able to learn one or two things from here. Um, yeah, I think we're going to be stopping the stream here basically. Based on what you've learned so far, I can assure you that if you put this into practice, you should be able to learn one or two things. Yeah, hopefully we're going to be having other sessions on Google Sheet and Excel. Before I show you the web version of Microsoft Excel, I would tell you that one thing that you would definitely need to understand is the more you practice on using Excel, the better you will become, right? So you just have to practice with a bunch of data sets, generate some data set, play around with data, try to search online for some examples or some use cases, some assignments, and you'll definitely get some of those resources. I'm simply going to give you a link from Simply Learn, right? Where we have some of the formulas I've highlighted is currently on that link. And that is a reference I use for these sessions from Simply Learn. I'm also going to give you a website, with a specific PDF. So you have about 400 formulas explained with examples. I don't think you need to always learn that way, but just in case you want to see some other examples, you have a link shared with you right now. You can explore some of those examples, of course. We're going to be having a data science and Google Cloud training coming up next year, probably January, kick off January. We have a Google Cloud training coming up this year shortly, but we have a different long-term training on data analytics and Google Cloud. And yeah, a combination of Google Cloud, AWS, Microsoft Cloud, which is Azure. We're having some trainings on that next year. So just in case you know someone who is interested in getting into tech and studying or learning, or getting into some of those skills or some of those career paths, you can always inform them to join us. Join the Discord server, and if we have any updates, we'll definitely share with them. So the next thing I'm going to show you right now is how do we get Microsoft Excel on the web. So basically, I'm going to go to the URL office.com, right? And if I follow that URL office.com, I'm simply going to land on the Office 365 login page. What I can do from here is I think I can simply just I'm already signed in basically. Of course, I believe you have to be signed in to your Office account. You can download the Office apps on your mobile, if you want to. I'm simply going to let's see Excel. Let's do that from here. Excel. Okay, office.com. I don't know, /Excel. I think I had it's okay, so probably I need to sign in again. I was hoping I was already signed in here, right? Okay, so I have to sign in again. I'm going to sign in on a different tab because, of course, I don't want to sign in on the screen here. So just give me a minute and I'm going to sign in. Office.com. Yeah, so basically, if you already have a Microsoft account, you can. So the way it works, is just similar to your Google, the Google Sheet and the others. Once you have your account open, you can create a file, and that file will be saved on OneDrive, right? Instead of Google Drive. So basically, I'm going to sign in off the screen. I'm doing that right now. Okay. That's a bit slow. So just give me 1 minute and I should be done. Yeah, I have to grab my Hotmail password. So of course, when signing into a Microsoft account, and I think the reason why it's easier for most people to use the Google, let's see, the Google account is because, by default on your Android devices or maybe on your laptop using Chrome, you already have a Google account, right? So it's kind of easier for some people, but let's assume you work in a corporate environment and your primary work tools happen to be Office and Microsoft specific tools, then I think this might also be easy for you. So let's navigate to office.com again. All right, so this time around, since I am authenticated, it's simply going to, show me, sort of like a dashboard with a bunch of details, my files, just similar to what you have on the Google Suite, set of tools as well. So right now you see we have both the spreadsheet file, the Office file. If you have some PowerPoint or presentation file, you have it in here. If you have like a OneNote file like what I have here, you also have it displayed here. So and of course you can also access more apps, right? When you click on more apps, you can access more apps from here. Microsoft lists, Microsoft Forms, Power Automate, Skype, Sway, and Microsoft To Do. Clicking on more apps, you're going to also see more apps in here. So let's go ahead and click on Excel. So by clicking on this, it's going to launch this section where you can select a previous workbook, right, or a previous spreadsheet, sorry. I think they also call that a workbook here. So you can select a previous worksheet, or you can create a new worksheet. Let us create a new worksheet, and this would automatically give us a new worksheet. So I think that's opening a new tab, and that is going to be saved inside your OneDrive, right? So, if you take a look at this, it's almost, I would say, similar workflow with, that of Google. Yeah, so if you already have maybe like a 365 subscription or something, you might choose to work with this, to get some sort of additional benefits. So this is slow, but I believe we can see. All right, so sorry, this is quite slow, but so now you have Microsoft Excel on your browser, right? And of course, you can perform some of the other functions. This is still loading, basically. There's some items that are yet to show. I believe there's some items here to show. So yeah, this is still loading. Of course, you can create multiple worksheets, work with the formulas, looking at it, you see it's almost similar. The difference is basically in the, I would say, the UI, I guess. So someone is asking the latest Office. Yes, of course, this is the latest Office on the cloud, right? And I think this also looks like the latest Office when you download this. I'm not sure because I have not downloaded Office probably in more than a year, right? So maybe there are some changes to the 365 package offline. I'm not certain, but this is currently what you have online, and it is saved to your drive, right? It's saved to your drive. So okay. So I think that was Kong asking. All right. So of course, you can add your data set in here. You can insert your chart, work with tables. Just similar to what we've been doing. If you have more experience using that Office environment, then definitely you will find this more comfortable, right, to work with. And I think this also have a feature for comment and collaboration. You can share this file with others and get to work with others on this file. So you can go ahead and try out some of the things we've done in the previous videos in here, and I'm very certain it will work the same way. The position of things might look different, but definitely in terms of the functionalities and the functions that we've used, it's going to work the same way. So thank you very much, and I hope you had a fun time today. This is the end of the session. If you have any questions, feel free to join me on Discord, right? Starting from next week, I'll be doing a bunch of streams on Twitch. So hopefully that will be communicated to you, and we'll get to learn a couple of things from working with productivity tools down to software engineering if you are interested in that, right? So you can join me live on Twitch, and of course you'll be notified on Discord as well. So do have a wonderful day, have a productive day, and have a lovely weekend. All right, so bye.